The next topic we're going to review are solving multi-step linear equations. These are also something you should have seen last year, but here's a quick review of just a couple of different types you might see. So in this situation, if you want to, you could start with drawing your line down the equal sign so you can remember to do the same thing to the left side as the right side. So your goal is to get the variable by itself. So if I want to get x by itself, I'm first going to always move what's being added or subtracted. So if I see an addition, the opposite of that is subtracting, because 3 minus 3 is 0. So we're left with 2x on the left side, and we did the same thing to the right side, so 13 minus 3 is 10. Then these two parts are touching, and touching is multiplication, so the opposite of multiplying is dividing, and 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we're left with a single 1x. And if I do it to the left side, I also have to do it to the right side, so 10 divided by 2 is 5. So we're left with x equals 5. And don't forget, if you're ever unsure of your answer and you want to double check, you can just plug it back in. So you've got 2 times 5 is 10, 10 plus 3 is 13. So we know we got the right answer. Let's check out another one. So when equations are written like this, I find that people get tripped up because the 5 is in the front and not the x. So this 5 is positive. So because it's a positive, to get rid of it, we would have to subtract 5, because 5 minus 5 is 0. And if I do it to one side of the equation, I also have to do it to the other side of the equation. So this minus sign stays with the x. We've got a minus x or a negative x, and 10 minus 5 is 5. So don't forget, if you ever have a single x, you can always draw that invisible 1 in the front. So now we have a negative 1x, and because they're touching, it's like multiplying, so we're going to divide by negative 1 on both sides. So negative 1 divided by negative 1 is 1, so we're left with a single positive x, and 5 divided by negative 1 is negative 5. And once again, you could plug that in if you wanted to double check your answer. Here you could solve this two different ways. So one way you could solve it is by distributing the 2 to each of these terms. But because 2 is being multiplied by the parentheses, you could also divide. And I would usually do that if the other side divides well by the 2. So if I did divide this side by 2 and divide this side by 2, you can divide 8 by 2, so I do like this approach. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. And because I've divided this whole side by 2, these 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we're just left with the x plus 3. So that makes this one a little bit quicker, and then we can do minus 3 on each side, so x equals 1. Finally, I see a fraction, so don't let that intimidate you. So we always first start with adding or subtracting, so we're going to subtract 2 on both sides. 2 minus 2 is 0, so it's gone. And then right now, this is x divided by 3, so the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So you're going to multiply both sides by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, so we're just left with x equals 10 times 3 is 30. 2 more quick examples. Oh, clicked the wrong thing. All right, 2 more quick examples. Here, if the whole fraction, if the whole top is divided by 7, I'm actually going to deal with the 7 before I deal with the plus 6 because the 7 is impacting the 6. So the opposite of dividing by 7 would be to multiply both sides by 7. So 7 divided by 7 is 1, so we're left with the 5x plus 6. And then really quickly in my calculator, I did 13 times 7, so that's 91. So calculators are a good thing, don't worry. And then we're going to subtract 6 on both sides. So we've got 5x equals 55. If we were in class, you guys would catch me making mental math errors all the time. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm proud of the fact that I like to use my calculator, and I work on getting better at mental math, but definitely I still make mistakes. So the last type of problem, we're going to have to do combining like terms, which we haven't seen yet. So I first see this in PEMDAS, parentheses would come first. So I'm going to distribute the 3 to both of these terms to start. So I'm just going to rewrite it. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times minus 1 is minus 3. And then equals 11. So on the left side of the equation, 2 and a minus 3 are like terms, so I could combine those together. Personally, I'm going to write this as a plus negative 3 because that's adding is easier for me with combining like terms. So 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1. So I've got negative 1 plus 3x equals 11. Notice I combined like terms because the 2 and the 3 were on the same side of this equals sign. So the 11 is on its own side, so I can combine the parts that are on the same side of the equal sign together. Now I'm still trying to get x by itself, so I don't want to deal with a 3 until I get rid of this negative 1. So it's a negative 1, so to get rid of it I would add 1, because negative 1 plus 1 is 0. So we're left with 3x equals 12. Divide by 3, and we've got x equals 4. So I know that was a lot of examples, but hopefully they were helpful, and you can always refer back to these if you get stuck during your practice problems.